One cool autumn evening, with the first stars twinkling over the Los Angeles skyline, Elon Musk received an unexpected invitation that would change the course of his day and perhaps his life. It was an invitation to the popular talk show New Era, which had recently attracted attention not only for its sharp content, but also for the reputation of its host, Barney Knoxford. Known for his provocative questions and unconventional interview style, Barney has earned both the love and hatred of millions of viewers across the country. Despite the ambiguity of public opinion about his methods, the talk show invariably drew full houses, and its episode always became the main event of the broadcast. Elon, accustomed to the world watching his every move, always treated such invitations with a grain of salt. He knew that such a show was not meant to reward the guest with respect or genuine interest in his achievements. However, his inner sense of justice and conviction and the need for open dialogue prevailed over caution. This time, he decided to accept the challenge. His heart was pounding in time with the rapid events, and his mind was full of questions about what awaited him behind the scenes of this bright arena, where every word could ignite an argument and every look could become the beginning of a new story. In the lead-up to the meeting, Elon spent a lot of time thinking. His office in the heart of the tech metropolis served as a refuge from the bustle of the world, but even the walls of this ultramodern building could not take his thoughts away from the upcoming broadcast. He recalled all the interviews in which he had to deal with the unpredictability of live broadcasts and deliberately provocative hosts, and he understood that this was another test. But tests always gave him an opportunity not only to show his true nature, but also to tell the world a truth that many would prefer to hide. Elon woke up that morning with a slight premonition of a fateful event. His usual routine, morning coffee, a jog along the Pacific coast, and a quick glance at business news, underwent a change when an invitation from the producers of New Era burst into his email. On the one hand, the invitation looked like a regular business letter, but on the other, there was some elusive spark of audacity and challenge in it. As if someone knew that right now the world was ready to hear words that could change the usual perception of reality. Elon sat at his desk for a long time, running through possible scenarios for the upcoming interview in his head. He imagined the camera slowly zooming in on his face, capturing his every glance, every wrinkle of doubt that he intended to erase with his confident answer. His mind painted pictures, how the host with impeccable politeness asks provocative questions, how the audience begins to whisper and then explodes in applause when Elon unexpectedly turns the situation to his advantage. Each image was rich in detail, each detail a shade of his inner world, ready for a clash of words and meanings. In the hustle and bustle of preparation, Elon couldn't help but notice how much had changed in recent years. The world of technology, business, and media was rapidly transforming, and against this backdrop, each interview took on an almost mythical dimension. He understood that his presence at New Era was not just an opportunity to talk about the latest developments in space technology or electric cars. It was a chance to show that behind all the glitter of modern achievements there is a living person, capable of feeling, doubting, fighting, and, finally, finding a way out of even the most difficult situations. The preparation for the meeting took place in close contact with the team of specialists. Days and nights spent discussing strategies, practicing responses, and modeling possible scenarios made this moment especially tense. Every employee knew that if this broadcast went well, not only Elon Musk's reputation, but also the fate of the talk show itself would be on the verge of change. For some, this was a chance to prove that true leadership requires not only brilliant ideas, but also the ability to withstand the pressure of public opinion. Meanwhile, the city was preparing for a new round of television shows. Los Angeles, known for its neon lights and endless streams of people, was welcoming the evening with its usual gusto. The New Era studio was already bustling with activity. The sound team was checking the equipment, makeup artists and stylists were tidying up the host's appearance, and producers were discussing the final touches to the broadcast. Everything was extremely well-tuned and verified down to the smallest detail, but there was a premonition in the air. Today, everything could go completely differently than planned. At that moment, outside the studio window, where the lights of the big city were reflected, Elon was getting ready to go. His personal car, like a loyal companion, was already waiting for him against the backdrop of a luxurious parking lot of one of the most prestigious hotels in the city. He spent every kilometer thinking about the upcoming test, how to choose the right words, how to avoid giving rise to sharp attacks, how, ultimately, to emerge from the situation with honor and dignity. There was a glimmer of determination in his eyes, and at the same time, there was a hidden anxiety. After all, Any word spoken on the air could become the beginning of a new round of public debate. The first minutes of approaching the studio were filled with silence and inner concentration. Images of the future were spinning in his mind. A room full of people, neon lights, the host's gaze, full of audacity and challenge. Elon knew that today was not just an interview waiting for him. It would be a test in which he would have to show that behind billions of ideas and innovations there is a person capable of standing up for his beliefs and defending the truth. He realized that every word would be assessed by thousands of viewers, every move analyzed by experts and critics. As he approached the studio building, he felt the city slow down, giving him the opportunity to concentrate on the main thing. His mind, like a laboratory, was experimenting with thoughts and words, preparing for a meeting with someone many called the embodiment of modern media provocation. The echo of footsteps, the noise of city life, the flashing faces of passers-by, all this became a background to his inner confidence and calm. When the doors of the studio opened before him, Elon stepped into a world where every corner was saturated with the energy of change. Here, in this theater of modern information, a new chapter of his story was beginning, a story in which he had to become not only an entrepreneur and inventor, but also a speaker capable of awakening in people the desire to seek the truth, despite all obstacles. At that moment, he realized that his invitation was not just a chance to talk about the future of technology, but an opportunity to show everyone that true power lies in honesty, responsibility, in the pursuit of truth. Thus began this evening, full of anticipation and tension, an evening when words acquired weight and looks, significance. And, entering the hall where the audience was already gathering, Elon Musk realized, today he is not just a guest on a talk show. Today he is the voice of change, and his words can forever change the way people look at the world around them. This meeting, charged with emotions and expectations, promised the beginning of an unprecedented dialogue, a dialogue in which every phrase could become a spark for a new round of public discussion, and every word, a weapon in the fight for the truth. As soon as Elon Musk left the treacherous silence of the hall, his gaze met the diverse faces of the guests gathered to watch the unique broadcast. But the tension did not subside. Behind every door, behind every corner of the studio, a certain mystical energy was felt, permeated with anticipation and the secret of intrigue. After a stormy reception in the corridor, where journalists and critics flickered like ghosts, he was directed to a small preparation room, where Barney Knox Ford was waiting for him, a charismatic, but at the same time unpredictable host, who was the soul and heart of the show New Era. Barney, a tall man with sparkling eyes and a wide smile, immediately noticed that Elon had entered not as just another guest, but as a person ready for a frank dialogue. He approached Elon with unpredictable ease, as if he had long known his fate, and extended his hand, greeting him with a warm but at the same time challenging look. "Welcome, Elon," he said. "Today, the world will learn what true change looks like." There was not only irony in this greeting, but also a deep challenge, a message that Musk received with curiosity and hidden excitement. In a small but cozy room, lit by soft lamps and filled with muffled sounds through the wall, the host and guest began an informal dialogue. Barney, outlining his concept for the show, spoke about the importance of not just asking questions, but looking for the truth in each answer. His words were at once inspiring and provocative, as if he himself were a guide in a world where truth often hid behind the facade of accepted norms. Elon listened intently, his eyes searching for something in the faces of his interlocutor that might indicate a real passion for change. He understood that today they would be in a clash of worlds, the world of technology and the world of ruthless media realism. Preparations for the broadcast were in full swing. In the small waiting room, where Elon spent time in quiet conversations with members of his team, he thought about the upcoming challenge. His thoughts wandered between innovative projects and possible surprises that could arise during the interview. He remembered how his early years, when he was just starting out in his career, were full of doubts and challenges, and how each new obstacle turned into a stepping stone to greater achievements. These memories gave him confidence and reminded him that even the most provocative questions are an opportunity to develop and grow. Barney, meanwhile, wasted no time. He showed Elon video clips from his past interviews, in which successful individuals answered the most difficult questions, sometimes even going beyond the limits of what was permitted. "Look," he said, "here, in every frame, There is a story of overcoming fears, mistakes, and misunderstandings. We are not looking for a scandal. We are looking for the truth. These words resonated with Elon, who knew that the truth is always more important than thoughtless criticism. He recalled moments when his own answers became a spark for new ideas, and his courage became an example for millions of people around the world to follow. As he watched the archival footage flash on the screen, Elon knew he was in for more than just another interview, but a real test of character. Images of difficult questions appeared in his head, the answers to which could cause a storm of emotions in the audience. He recalled how his methods of running the company had previously been criticized, how his innovative projects had caused bewilderment among traditionalists. But it was these moments that made him who he became, a man unafraid to go against the grain and challenge the established order. As the time approached for the broadcast, the tension in the room grew, as if anticipating a storm. Barney and Elon left the room to go to the studio area, where the audience was already gathering. The corridors leading to the heart of the studio were decorated with modern art objects, reflecting the spirit of a new time, where technology intertwines with art, and ideas become a bridge between the past and the future. Each step Elon took was accompanied by deep reflection on how his words can affect public opinion, how his gaze can pierce the veil of conventional thinking. As the big broadcast approached, with the footsteps growing louder and the anticipation thickening in the air, Barney turned to Elon and said, "Today we're not just talking. Today we're making history." Those words, filled with energy and challenge, resonated in Elon's heart. He knew that his every word, every move, would be captured not just by cameras, but by millions of minds watching him in real time. He felt his presence here becoming a symbol of possibility, his courage a quality that unites people who want to make a difference. The spotlights illuminated the room, where many spectators were already beginning to gather. The sound of applause and the low hum of anticipation created an atmosphere that promised to be an explosion of emotions. Elon, realizing that it was not just his personal reputation that was at stake, but an entire concept of trust and innovation, took a deep breath and tuned into a wave that could overcome any obstacles. A spark of determination flashed in his eyes, and his mind was focused on how to properly convey his ideas to the audience. In a room where every detail, from the arrangement of chairs to the soft flickering of light, was thought out to the smallest detail, a meeting of two worlds began. Barney, already prepared to ask a question, said with a slight smile, "Elon, tell me, what do you think it means to be a true leader in an era of change?" His voice, confident and at the same time filled with curiosity, became the first chord in the symphony of the upcoming conversation. With that question, like a stone breaking the calm surface of the water, a real clash of views and ideas began. Elon, feeling how every cell of his being was tuned to the search for truth, answered with a confidence that came not from arrogance, but from a deep understanding of the essence of things. He spoke about how leadership is not just status or power, but the ability to face the challenges of the time, admit mistakes, and find new ways to solve problems, be it in the technological sphere or in social relations. His words, filled with passion and confidence, echoed around the room, forcing each listener to think about the importance of real dialogue. With each new question, Barney delved deeper into Elon's essence, provoking him to open up and think about the future. They discussed not only technological innovations, but also the changes that occur in society when a person is not afraid to question established norms. The questions became increasingly personal and philosophical, and Elon's answers became a vivid reflection of his inner world, where ideas about fairness, responsibility, and the inevitability of change intersected. Behind the scenes of the broadcast, while the audience began to perceive the words as a message of the new century, the atmosphere in the studio became more and more intense. Every word spoken by Elon turned out to be not just part of an interview, but a real manifesto of ideas capable of changing the established order of things. Barney, observing the reaction of the audience, more than once caught the eyes of people who were expecting something radically new, extraordinary. In this anticipation, in this quiet delight in the unpredictability of the moment, a new idea was born, the idea that true leadership is born in a dialogue between different worlds, between innovation and tradition, between what is accepted and what has yet to be realized. The moment the broadcast went live, Elon Musk realized that his words and thoughts could be a spark that could spark new conversations and change established views on the future. He felt his voice, previously so confident and calm, gain new strength, reflecting not only his personal experience, but also the hopes of millions of people seeking truth in an era of rapid change. His answer, filled with deep philosophical reflections and real-life examples, became the bridge that unites technology with human values and ideals with reality. Thus, the meeting with Barney was not just another interview. It turned into a real dialogue of two worlds, in which Elon Musk, confidently walking the fine line between sincerity and strategic calculation, made it clear that change begins with the awareness of one's place in this world. His look, filled with determination and faith in a better future, conveyed to the audience the idea that each person is capable of becoming a source of inspiration for others, if only they dare to ask a question and hear the answer. As the broadcast continued and Elon's words echoed around the room, the audience felt the magic of the moment in the air, magic that could change the way we perceive our world forever. This evening promised to be a starting point for new ideas, new projects, and new encounters, where every word would matter and every action would have the power to transform. And it was at this moment, when the boundaries between ideas and reality were erased, that Elon Musk became a symbol of change, a face that was not afraid to look the challenges of the times in the eye and respond to them with confidence and openness. After a tense and emotional broadcast, when Elon Musk's words resonated in the hearts of the viewers, it was time for personal reflection and difficult negotiations behind the scenes of the New Era show. In the studio corridor, where the freshness of the just-completed dialogue still hung in the air, the atmosphere changed. The spotlight softened, and the hum of the enthusiastic audience was replaced by a quiet, almost imperceptible rustling of voices and footsteps of employees. For Elon, this time became a kind of break, a moment when it was possible to comprehend not only what was said on air, but also all the subtleties of what happened, from sincere looks to barely noticeable gestures left by Barney Knoxford, the host, who knew how to ask questions so that each listener felt the pulse of modern reality. In a small conference room furnished with simple furniture and minimalist paintings, Elon Musk sat down across from a group of representatives from the show's producers and editors. Here, in this secluded space where every sentence could be decisive, informal discussions about the implications of the broadcast began to unfold. The atmosphere was tense. On the one hand, the success of the interview opened up new opportunities for bold ideas and large-scale projects, and on the other, the critical views and doubts of some team members pointed to the possible risks associated with public statements and the emotional intensity of the meeting. At the table, in the semi-darkness of the conference room, Elon listened attentively to each participant in the discussion. Some expressed the opinion that his words were too frank, risky, and could be interpreted as an attempt to manipulate public opinion. Others, on the contrary, saw in his statements courage and innovation, capable of setting a new vector for the development of public dialogue about technology and the future. In this atmosphere of disagreement, Elon felt conflicting emotions growing inside him. From confidence in the correctness of the chosen path to uncertainty associated with the fact that any word could become a spark for new debates and perhaps even for political battles. Over the course of several hours, the panelists debated the implications of the broadcast, the reputational risks, the potential legal challenges, and the expectations of the investors and partners who were watching his every move. Each participant weighed in, citing examples from the history of companies where public statements had become a catalyst for major change, both positive and negative. Elon, sitting in the center of the discussion, answered questions calmly, but there was a note of reflection in his voice that he might have set the bar even higher than he initially expected. Outside the conference room, the Los Angeles night skyline was familiar, glittering skyscrapers, flickering streetlights, and an endless stream of cars rushing toward their destinations. But inside the city of opportunity and ambition, Elon felt the loneliness that comes from standing at the crossroads of tech, business, and media. It was here, in the quiet aftermath of a live broadcast, that he began to realize that beneath his public confidence lay an internal struggle, a struggle between the need to be a voice for change and the fear of the consequences of that change. The night hours became a time of personal reflection for Elon. He went for a walk through the quiet streets of the neighborhood, where, far from the noisy studio halls, you could feel the real pulse of the city. With each step, he tried to find answers to the questions the world itself asked him, questions about the future of technology, about trust, about how to maintain a human face in the age of digital innovation. His thoughts wandered between the past day and the events to come. Images from the airwaves flashed through his head. Memories of every question, every glance that was directed his way. During this nighttime walk, Elon stopped at a small park where the leaves of the trees rustled softly and the light of the street lamps drew strange shadows on the paths. There he met an old friend whom he had not seen for many years, a man who always knew how to listen and give wise advice when words seemed too harsh and the choice too difficult. The friend, noticing the exhaustion on Elon's face, suggested that they sit on a bench and talk about what really matters. For long minutes, under the starry sky, they discussed not only political and economic challenges, but also the philosophy of life, the essence of human relationships, and, especially, the role of technology in shaping the future of society. These candid conversations were a breath of fresh air for Elon, a moment when he realized that publicly acknowledging his ideas must be accompanied by honesty with himself. It was in this dialogue with a friend that he began to understand that his words on the air were not an attempt to cause a scandal or destroy the usual way of life, but a sincere demonstration that even the most advanced technologies must be based on human values, on a sincere desire for fairness and openness. This thought, like a quiet fire, warmed him from within, giving him the strength to move forward despite all the doubts and criticism. Back at the hotel, where a small lounge awaited him, Elon began preparing for the next stage, meetings with key investors and representatives of large companies for whom his words had real consequences rather than just symbolic meaning. Every meeting, every handshake now became part of a complex mosaic, where not only the idea of innovation came to the fore, but also the responsibility to the millions of people who followed his every move. Plans for new projects, for reforming the company's strategies, and even for revising approaches to public communications were already being made in his head. It was in this difficult decision-making process that he understood that change was inevitable and that behind every success there were moments of deep doubt and hard work. In a high-rise office in the heart of the business district, Elon met with a group of strategists who were analyzing the public reaction to his interview in detail. Survey results, analytical reports, and comments on social media formed a complex pattern that allowed us to see both the positive and negative aspects of the broadcast. The discussions were lively and emotional. Each team member tried to convey to Elon that every public statement has consequences that can change the course of the company and even entire industries. In these discussions, Elon did not look for excuses. He accepted criticism, but at the same time assured that the truth, even if it raises questions, should always be heard. During these negotiations, Elon faced a number of proposals to change the strategy of interaction with the public. Some advised him to tighten control over the information flows, others, on the contrary, to expand the dialogue with the audience, giving everyone the opportunity to express their point of view. For Musk, this was a moment of finding a balance between openness and preserving business reputation, between the desire for innovation and the need to protect his interests. Every word, every decision mattered, and in this difficult game of risks and opportunities, he felt that not only his personal ambitions were at stake, but also the future of technological progress as a whole. This series of meetings and discussions lasted until late at night, when the city was almost asleep and only the last lights of activity were glowing in the office windows. Elon, tired but full of new ideas, understood that his path to change was just beginning. He realized that each public speech was not only a reflection of his personal beliefs, but also an opportunity to set the tone for future generations, for those who believe in the power of innovation and honest dialogue. Despite the doubts that tormented him in the silence of the night, he continued to move forward, because behind every shadow there was an opportunity. And behind every challenge, a chance to prove that change is possible. In the early morning, as the first rays of sunlight began to break through the night sky, Elon Musk felt himself energized by renewed determination and a sense of his true path. He realized that even in moments of darkness, when doubts seemed insurmountable, it was faith in his own vision that could illuminate the path and give him hope for a better future. His thoughts, filled with ideas for new projects, strategies, and approaches to solving social problems, merged with the breathing of the city, which was waking up to a new day. Every meeting, every discussion, every unexpected turn of fate now seemed an integral part of a larger plan in which he played a central role. Thus, having passed through the labyrinth of criticism and doubt, Elon Musk gained new confidence that change is not just an external phenomenon, but an internal force capable of changing not only companies and markets, but also the very essence of public consciousness. His journey continued, and new challenges and discoveries awaited him at every turn. Through the shadow of doubt, filled with cold questions and hidden uncertainty, he emerged to meet the dawn, ready to continue the fight for truth, for innovation, and for a future in which technology serves people and not the other way around. After much discussion and late-night contemplation, Elon Musk found himself on the threshold of a new chapter in his journey. The morning sun shone through the windows of a modern office building in downtown Los Angeles, illuminating his face as if promising a new chapter full of unexpected discoveries and serious challenges. In that morning light, he felt not only the power of an awakening reality, but also a slight excitement about what fate had in store for him. This time, he was on an important visit, a meeting with representatives of a large technology consortium interested in implementing a revolutionary project that could change the face of the industry. The meeting was scheduled in one of the most modern conference halls in the city, where the walls, decorated with innovative installations, seemed to tell of a future full of possibilities and changes. The hall itself resembled an arena where ideas collide and give birth to new concepts, and every word carries enormous weight. Elon walked into the room with his usual confidence, but deep down he knew that this was not just a business meeting, but an opportunity to open a new page in his story. His gaze was immediately drawn to a large table where the leading minds of the tech world had gathered: scientists, businessmen, investors, government officials, and even a few journalists who wanted an exclusive interview. The atmosphere was filled with anticipation and hidden energy, as if everyone present felt that today was going to be something more than just an exchange of opinions. The first few minutes of the discussion were filled with polite greetings and business news. However, Elon soon got to the point. He began to talk about his vision of the future, where technology will be humanity's ally, and innovation will be a tool for solving global problems. His speech was measured, filled with details about new developments in artificial intelligence, energy, and space exploration. He spoke about the importance of joining forces to create an infrastructure that can ensure sustainable development, and how every innovative solution should serve the interests of people, not just the elite. During the meeting, Elon faced questions that challenged not only his projects, but the very system he was working in. One of the investors asked a pointed question about the security of new technologies, recalling past mistakes and challenges related to data leaks and threats of cyber attacks. Without blinking an eye, Elon made arguments in favor of strict security protocols and emphasized that innovation cannot be stopped due to fears of the unknown. He said that risk is an integral part of progress, and that every failure becomes a lesson leading to new successes. His words left a powerful impression on the audience, many of whom began to wonder if it is possible that risk is the engine of real breakthroughs. Meanwhile, the atmosphere in the room was becoming more and more intense and dynamic. A leading scientist specializing in quantum technologies began asking questions about how Musk plans to integrate the achievements of science into everyday life of society. In response, Elon spoke about his vision of integrating smart cities, where every building, every vehicle, and even street lighting will be connected into a single information network that can optimize energy consumption and improve safety. His speech was filled with passion and technical details, which generated lively interest and discussion among the audience. As the conversation progressed, the discussion became personal. Several consortium representatives asked Elon about the personal beliefs and experiences that shaped his worldview and formed the basis for such bold projects. And then Elon opened up, talking about years of hard work, failures, and lessons learned from criticism and societal expectations. He talked about how, in moments of doubt and loneliness, he found solace in ideas about a future where technology serves people, rather than becoming a tool for profit and manipulation. His story was so sincere and profound that even the most skeptical participants felt a warm wave of understanding and support. During the Q&A, the atmosphere in the room gradually softened, giving way to a candid dialogue where everyone could express their opinion. Investors, scientists, businessmen, they all asked themselves how to balance the desire for innovation with the need to maintain ethical principles in a world where changes occur at a dizzying speed. Elon Musk, with his unique view of the world, managed not only to convince the audience of the rightness of his approach, but also to awaken in each participant the desire to make the world a better place, even if it means taking risks and breaking the usual framework. As he watched the audience react, he felt his words becoming a catalyst for change. At one point, the room fell silent as one of the investors stood up and asked the question that had seemed to be hanging in the air. How are you going to overcome resistance from traditional institutions that are notoriously resistant to innovation? He asked, looking directly at Elon, as if expecting not just a business answer but a personal revelation. Elon took a deep breath. His gaze met his interlocutor's, And he answered as if he were speaking not only to those in the room, but to future generations. Every revolution begins when people stop being afraid of change. We cannot change the past, but we can build a future where innovation is the foundation of freedom and progress. Overcoming resistance means convincing the world that change is a natural path to development, and that fear of the new is an illusion that can be destroyed with courage and persistence. With this answer, Elon did more than just defend his position. He literally turned the perception of everyone present upside down. His words sounded like a challenge to established norms, like a call to action for those who still doubted the need for change. Every listener, from business leaders to young scientists, felt that they had become part of something grand, that their efforts could change the usual order of things. After this tense but inspiring exchange, the discussion continued in a more informal setting, when the participants gathered around a round table to discuss the prospects for further cooperation. At this point, Elon noticed that his ideas had found a response in the hearts of people, and even the most skeptical voices gradually softened, giving way to constructive dialogue. Conversations at the table lasted for a long time, moving from technical details to questions of ethics and the philosophy of the future. Elon, listening to each interlocutor, drew inspiration from their ideas and proposed new ways to solve common problems. As the day turned into evening, and evening into the darkness of night, Elon realized that the meeting had become a real platform for exchanging ideas, where there was no room for superficial discussions. Each participant in the meeting suddenly realized that they were on the brink of a new era, where bold projects could become the basis for creating a better world. This thought inspired, gave energy and confidence that the future, no matter how difficult it may seem, is possible only through the combined efforts of people willing to take risks and change the existing state of things. As the conference room gradually emptied and the last participants exchanged contacts for further discussions, Elon was left alone with himself, reflecting on how important such moments are in life. He understood that his path is a constant movement forward, despite obstacles and doubts. Every meeting, every conversation is not only an opportunity to exchange information, but also a chance to inspire others to search for new solutions, to overcome internal and external barriers. That evening, under the flickering lights of the city and in the silence of the emptying hall, Elon Musk realized that the future belongs to those who are not afraid to go towards the unknown, who can see opportunities for growth behind apparent problems. His soul, filled with new ideas and ambitious plans, beat in time with the pulse of the city, reminding him that every step, even the most risky, can be the beginning of great change. He understood that there were still many challenges ahead, but it is in these challenges that true strength lies, the strength to strive for a better future for all. Thus ended this eventful meeting, leaving behind a bittersweet aftertaste of victories and new expectations. Elon left the room knowing that his ideas were only just beginning to take shape, and that even greater challenges lay ahead, in which true leadership would be measured not only by the success of projects, but also by the ability to inspire, unite, and lead entire masses of people. At the dawn of a new day, when the city of Los Angeles was just beginning to awaken, and the first rays of the sun were gently enveloping the skyscrapers of the business center, Elon Musk felt that his inner world was preparing for a decisive moment. Several days of heated negotiations, long nights of reflection, and exchange of ideas with the best minds of our time gradually brought him closer to the culmination of change. He realized that the upcoming steps could determine not only the future of his own projects, but also make a decisive contribution to the transformation of the entire technological and social environment. On this crucial day, Elon was invited to a closed meeting with representatives of not only the technology consortium, but also the highest echelons of government agencies, international investors, and influential public figures. The venue was a luxurious conference room of one of the most prestigious hotels in the city, where the strict minimalism of the interior was in harmony with thoughtful technological solutions. The room was filled with flickering light that reflected off the glass panels, creating the feeling that all those present were at the very center of innovation and the future, where every word had enormous weight and meaning. Elon, dressed in an elegant suit, entered the room with the understanding that his decision would determine not only the success of his personal endeavors, but also the fate of many projects aimed at transforming the world. The room was filled with opinion leaders, scientists, business, and government representatives whose views and decisions could launch a new wave of progress. The attention of all present was riveted on the figure of Elon, who always knew how to unite conflicting opinions into a single whole, showing that it is through dialogue and cooperation that any barriers can be overcome. On the table where the meeting was held were projects and detailed plans illustrating a vision of the future in which technology becomes an ally of humanity and not a tool for narrow-minded selfish goals. Elon began his speech by thanking those gathered for the opportunity to participate in such an important dialogue. His voice was confident, but there was also a deep sincerity in it that contributed to the creation of an atmosphere of mutual understanding. He spoke about the need for synergy between science, business, and government, emphasizing that change begins with the recognition of the interconnectedness of all spheres of life. We live in an era where the speed of change is mind-boggling, he said, and our task is not just to keep up with the times, but to be ahead of them, creating new standards, new rules, new horizons for development. Today we are faced with a challenge: how to combine technological progress with social interests, how to ensure the safety of innovations without depriving them of the power to destroy old, outdated systems. We must be bold. We must be open to dialogue and ready for compromises, because this is the only way to create a future where technology serves the benefit of every person. His words evoked a lively response, and an atmosphere of unity and anticipation of a reciprocal step from all participants in the meeting hung in the hall. During the discussion, Elon answered questions, delved into the complex nuances of the projects presented, and gave examples from his own experience, when each overcome obstacle became a starting point for new discoveries. He talked about the risks he faced in the past and how his decisions, based on faith and innovation, changed the fates of companies and people. Among those gathered, questions were asked about data security, the ethics of artificial intelligence, and the social responsibility of business structures. Each of them became an occasion for a deep dialogue, in which Elon shared not only technical details, but also personal experiences accumulated over years of hard work and a tireless search for truth. Our task is not simply to create new technologies, he continued, but to ensure that these technologies become a tool for building a just society, where everyone can feel like a participant in a great process. We must focus on education, on developing skills that will allow people to adapt to new realities. Change does not happen without sacrifice, but it is through overcoming difficulties that we become stronger and our ideas become deeper. His speech was filled with confident optimism and realism, reflecting not only faith in the future, but also a willingness to do the hard work needed to build it. There were moments during the meeting when tensions grew and discussions reached their limits, but Elon skillfully guided the conversation, turning conflicts into constructive dialogue. He reminded those gathered that any breakthrough requires not only innovative ideas, but also the ability to overcome internal contradictions, work on mistakes, and learn from failures. At one point, when one of the investors expressed doubts about the feasibility of a large-scale project to develop smart cities, Elon talked about how he had to deal with misunderstandings in the past and how each doubt became a motivator for finding new, better solutions. The room filled with discussions, and gradually the tension gave way to an atmosphere of enthusiasm. The participants of the meeting began to see in the ideas proposed by Elon not a threat to the established order, but a chance to transform society, capable of inspiring and uniting people of the most diverse views. The discussions touched not only on technical aspects, but also on moral and ethical issues related to the introduction of new technologies into life. Elon addressed each issue with particular care, emphasizing that progress is impossible without responsibility to future generations. At the culmination of the meeting, when the discussion reached its peak, one of the respected representatives of government agencies asked a question that seemed to freeze the time in the room. How can we, by combining the efforts of government, business, and science, ensure that innovation does not become a tool for manipulation, but serves the true benefit of society? To this question, Elon answered that the key to solving the problem lies in transparency, open dialogue, and a relentless pursuit of self-improvement. We must create conditions in which everyone will have the opportunity to contribute, he said, and where ideas born in the hearts of people will be implemented through honest and fair practices. Change does not happen on its own. It requires effort, cooperation, and, above all, faith that a better future is possible. Elon's words created a real sensation. After his address, the meeting participants not only approved the proposed ideas, they began to actively discuss specific steps for implementing projects, forming working groups, and drawing up the first plans for joint initiatives. An atmosphere of hope and confidence reigned in the hall, as if everyone present felt that they were standing on the threshold of a new era, where technology and human values do not contradict each other, but complement each other, creating a harmonious whole. As the meeting came to an end, Elon looked back at the crowd, feeling proud that his words had resonated with such influential people. He knew there was still a long road ahead, full of challenges, but he also believed that together, any obstacles could be overcome. In that moment, he realized that his mission was not only about pursuing technological ambitions, but also about creating a fair and open society where everyone would have the opportunity to be heard. As Elon left the conference room, he felt all his previous doubts and worries dissolve in the face of new possibilities. He knew that every meeting, every idea was a brick in the foundation of the future that he and his team of like-minded people could build. His steps were confident, his gaze was determined, and a flame of hope was blazing inside him, capable of illuminating even the darkest corners of the modern world. This meeting was the culmination of a moment when personal convictions and global change merged into a single powerful force. Elon Musk, remaining true to his principles, proved that true transformation is possible only when everyone is willing to go beyond the usual, when the collective mind unites to solve common problems. On this day, the foundation was laid for a new wave of change that promised to change not only the face of the industry, but also the lives of millions of people thirsty for sincere dialogue and real progress. So, to the sounds of the final applause and words of gratitude from the participants of the meeting, Elon Musk left the hall, knowing that his journey was just beginning. He believed that no less difficult challenges awaited him ahead, but he was also sure that together we can create a future where technology serves everyone, and changes become a source of inspiration and hope for all of us. In the years since those fateful meetings and decisive conversations, the world has felt the subtle but profound changes that were shaped by those fateful days when Elon Musk, a bold dreamer and practical visionary, stepped forward to meet the challenges of the times. What began as a series of emotional encounters, heated negotiations, and public appearances has evolved into a powerful legacy of change that has continued to shape the fates of not just individual companies or tech giants, but society as a whole. Looking back on those days, one can see how the innovative ideas expressed at that landmark event gradually penetrated into every sphere of life. Initially, many ideas were perceived skeptically as distant dreams. It seemed that they did not fit into the usual way of life of the world, where established structures dominated any innovations. But with each passing year, these ideas gained strength, becoming part of everyday reality. Technological breakthroughs, inspired by the desire for justice and ethics, began to transform not only business processes, but also relationships between people, creating new opportunities for education, development, and social justice. Years later, innovative projects once discussed at closed meetings and conferences became the basis of smart cities, where technology was harmoniously integrated into the lives of every resident. In these cities, the decisions made then made it possible to create a sustainable infrastructure capable of not only ensuring comfortable living, but also protecting the rights of citizens, promoting equal access to education and medicine, and creating new jobs that meet the challenges of the future. These changes became a symbol of the fact that change is born from a dialogue between entrepreneurs, government officials, and the scientific community can transform an entire civilization. Elon Musk, who has become not only a household name but also a symbol of the era of change, continued his work, inspiring a new generation of leaders and innovators. His ideas, presented in powerful speeches and insightful conversations, became the subject of study at universities and business schools, and his path became a model for those who want to challenge the norm and create something great. In every lecture, in every seminar, teachers talked about how courage and openness to dialogue can become a catalyst for change, and a willingness to take risks, the key to a breakthrough in any field. Not only technological and social changes, but also the cultural perception of the world underwent a transformation. Those moments when Elon Musk's words and actions provoked heated discussions became the starting point for a new public discourse. People began to value honesty, openness, and responsibility more, and the media, realizing their role in shaping public opinion, began to strive for more objective coverage of events, avoiding sensationalism and superficial criticism. The era when one person's opinion could trigger public debate has evolved into an era of collective search for truth, where every voice mattered and every idea had its power. Over time, society has learned to perceive innovation not as a threat to the old order, but as an opportunity to create a new world where technology serves people, and not vice versa. Those projects that once seemed bold or even utopian have become reality. As a result, a new balance has emerged between traditional values and innovative approaches, which has made it possible to create an environment in which every citizen could feel like a participant in the great process of transformation. New laws and regulations, adopted on the basis of principles of transparency and fairness, have ensured the protection of citizens' rights while simultaneously stimulating the development of high technologies. The epilogue of this story is not only the final word, but also a reflection of the continuation of a path that knows no end. The legacy of change laid down in those fateful moments has become part of the global consciousness, uniting people of different generations, cultures, and views. Legends of those days are told as inspiring stories that can awaken in everyone the desire for a better future, where innovation and human values go hand in hand. The faces of young innovators. Graduates of prestigious educational institutions and ordinary citizens actively participating in social and technological projects today are living proof that the world can change if an entire community of people fights for it. Ready to go beyond the usual and accept the challenge of time. In the evening, when the city streets are lit up and the skyscrapers reflect the brilliance of hundreds of lights, you can see how the changes that began many years ago continue to spread. New cities built on the principles of sustainable development, smart management systems that care about the comfort of residents, and social initiatives aimed at improving the quality of life. All this is the fruit of efforts that began with a conversation, with the decisive step of one person who was not afraid to say, "It's time to change." It became a powerful reminder for everyone who looks to the future that change is possible if you fight for it with an open heart and a clear mind. And although times continue to change and challenges become more complex, the legacy of those changes remains alive. It inspires new achievements, awakens in people the desire for constant improvement, and reminds that any path, even the most thorny, can lead to a bright future. The epilogue of this story is a mirror that reflects not only the successes of the past, but also the promise of future victories, when every voice, every idea, and every action can change the world. Thus, the story of Elon Musk and his journey to change became part of a greater tapestry that merges the dreams, efforts, and aspirations of millions of people. This narrative, which began with a single challenge, turned into a movement that left an indelible mark on the hearts and minds of those who decided that the future belongs to those who believe in the power of change and are willing to move forward, no matter what. The legacy of change lives on in every new day, in every idea that awakens hope, and in every person who dares to dream of a better world.